going on, everybody? Gustav the 13th here with another video talking about the Rosette Enhanced Ground Form. The new suit here for May the 15th, 2025. It is a 3-star general suit with ground only typing here. Interesting setup and kit. Let's go down to weapons real quick. So the utility beam rifle on this thing, it's actually oddly shoulder mounted. It is 2k base power, heat rate of 85%, and range of 450 meters. Overheats 18, focus of 3.5, and the charge on this actually does penetrate. Going into the alternate fire for this, it's a really weirdly spaced rapid. The 3-round burst that comes out of this will stun most things. 400 range on this as well, so keep in mind that range when we get into the skills for this a little bit later on. But then we get into the melee. So the Rosette's main saber, not super strong, 1850 here, with an axe that actually does instant knockdown with a pretty generous pattern for its swinging, 2200 base power here. The Vulcan's definitely not anything to write home about. It takes a hot minute to really accumulate anything. You do have 60M on this with a range of 200. General reload times on this is 18, 15, and 10. So not super great. Getting into the skills and stats, the stats on this, considering its bulk, the defense is very odd. So, only 12 ballistic resistance. We only have 19k health to play with here. And beam resistance on the other side of that is actually at 30 per baseline. So pretty easy to get further up into that. Melee resistance, in contrast, is only at 20. At a cost range, that has a lot of melee heavy shit going on for 500. So gotta be a little bit careful of that. There's gonna be some weighing of options when it comes to either trying to get this more bulk so that it doesn't get sliced up when it actually gets put on the ground or whatever else. Now we get into the offense. 10 range strength. And I guess they think that's okay considering that it has 40 baseline melee. But as we saw there, the damages on the melee that it has, not super crazy. And beyond that, movement speed, not bad. High speeds at 210, pretty typical. Thruster gauge of 50. 50, I say. Again, something else you're going to have to bolster. When we get into the skills, it's not awful, but it could be a lot better. Turning speed of 63, so not the sharpest thing, or the quickest thing for that. And then again, see it's got a big old W. Why the hell would it be? Part slots wise, however, is 14, 13, and 9. And this is where things get a little bit troublesome because you have all these things that have like shortcomings and stuff like that, and not a lot of slottage to really bolster up one or the other without having to just sacrifice or ignore one aspect that's still weak on this suit, which is a little unfortunate. Getting into these skills here, high performance radar 1, frontline support system, so similar to the Jagan and a couple other things, people can respawn faster with each ally with the skill. Stabilization device. So, we haven't seen this on a lot of generals. It's been a little while since I've seen it on anything. But if you crouch, you can actually mitigate some of the stun, so a heavy will be a regular, yada yada yada, stuff like that. Keeping that in mind with the range on the beam rifle, it has a decent amount of reach. I guess if you see a bunch of stuff charging towards you, you can kind of plant yourself down, see if you can stun some of them and keep them away until you can move forward and then do the tackle. Because it's like, oh, well, you can't perform tackles while you're crouched. Just stand up then, and then just go. Not bad. But emergency evasion system 1. Only get one roll out of this thing. Anti-blast stabilizer, high performance balancer. The fact that you also have anti-blast, it'd be weird if you didn't just because of the sheer size of the suit, but obviously they want you to go in for melee for that. Enhanced tackle 4, so 95% extra to the tackle damage as well as 10% extra to the distance covered on the tackle itself. Force injector 2, so you're not bleeding off quite as much when you're redirecting yourself mid boost and stuff like that. Combat controller 1, close combat program. So this is interesting because both the saber and the axe will have extra resistance on them for stuns when you have them equipped, which means you should technically have an easier time getting in after your stun or whatever. Special chest armor buffer for 15% for that increased armor little bump that we got on there. The back buffer, which I'm assuming is probably just for the huge hover or whatever W that we got, is 30%, and the leg buffers is for 15%. So it's kind of hard to say what the approach is on this. A lot of the clips that I've been seeing since I've done my own matches have just been really big clusterfucks of them just tackling and trying to shove each other around, getting in your melee for the instant down, and then maybe following up once and then moving on to something else, because the speed and the ready up between these is not super crazy. Beyond that, let's look at the enhancement list here. So +1 anti-beam, +1 in melee modifier, plus 100 to unit HP, and then complex expansion comes in at the end at 1900. The unlockables then are +5 to anti-beam modifier and +5 to melee modifier. The interesting thing about this is that it's all anti-beam for the defense on a suit that has 12 ballistic defense. Okay, I guess just to make it easier to max out beam resistance so you can put stuff into the other ones. Otherwise, again, doesn't make sense to me. So let's put this into practice, and we'll take a gander and how it moves around and all that stuff before we get into the example match. Anytime. Come on. Get on with it. Rudder. There we go. Okay. So we'll demonstrate a couple of the stuff that we were talking about here. Not bad, instant stun. 3 rounds for the burst on that. For the stun, I'm gonna show out the charge real quick. But yeah, as you can see, baseline, because of that really low boost capacity, this thing runs out fast. It almost feels like it has the boost capacity of like a support. Because keep in mind, although you aren't bleeding off as much on redirects because of that force injector, the baseline amount that it takes is still considerable. That's more than like a quarter. As you're, getting the momentum to move forward in the first place, the redirect at that point is just to make sure that you don't lose all your boost in one reboost. Okay, so you see the pierce there. Instant knockdown on there, and the neutral on this is actually a pretty nice just forward swipe, as opposed to just like a chop or anything like that, like the ID would do. So a little bit more coverage. Keep in mind that a little extra bit of coverage also means that you're probably going to be a bit of a hazard to your allies, depending. And like right there, 34, like 14 on the raw downswing for the Saber against a type advantage suit. So not doing a lot per se. 17, 2k on a baseline. The downswing is a really big chop, 3741 for the axe on that, on a neutral typed enemy. Has a decent amount of carry on the downswings for the suit, but the problem with that being is that it's really hard to kind of cancel and combo into them when you get the initial knockdown as a result, outside of maybe just doing one extra swing or so. So things to keep in mind. It really feels like you're just supposed to be fighting everything because it seems like it's a little bit hard to focus on just like a singular target without having too many problems. Let's also just do the quick Vulcan countdown here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So 25 shots. Granted, you do have 60, but the rate of fire, as you can see, not super inspired. Definitely a little bit more of that Marasai DNA coming out, as you can see the helmet and all that stuff with this. Not to its advantage. So therein is the basics of what it can really do. Obviously, if you crouch, you can resist stun. If you have your weapons out, you can resist stun. So you have 2 different modes of kind of just stop and go gameplay where you can really kind of resist and do what you gotta do. So you'd crouch at a distance to do your shots and stuff like that. Maybe once they get closer, you do a tackle or move in with this to try to give them a good swipe. And then just move off again after that. That leaves us with checking out the damage that this thing can do to the base. And you're talking about something that has a decent BR on it. And a burst down. That being said, I think that the burst down in this is really weird, and I guess it's because 3-round bursts will stun things, but the pause between that and the next burst is really long, and not for a lot of payoff, because you only really get enough for 2 more bursts depending on how long you wait. Sometimes it'll only be 1. And again, that's not enough to stun again, so it's a little bit hard to say exactly what the purpose of that is, or why they wouldn't just let it come out faster. Saber doesn't really do much visibly, so for the most part it's mostly going to be just your rifles and stuff doing the bulk of the damage, and this in general as a suit isn't really going to be the big contributor, which is silly. When you see this thing, right, you think, oh, that should be like a big old chunk out of this. Not really. So we do have a couple matches. I think I'm going to pick the second match that we had here just to try to show it getting mixed in a little bit more. But that match is going to be put in right around here. Fucking Roblox, dude. Is this just like a weird, like, the old man execs trying to figure out what the kids like or some shit? Like... the momentum wasn't enough. No, get away. Count on fuck off. The annoying thing is that I can't use my main thing of damage for the axe around people because this stupid little support's gonna be running around. I'm just gonna fucking swipe them and shit. Or do that. Ah, that actually killed him though. Let's take that at least. If anything, I just need to be less polite in this game. Oh my god, fucking G7 did. Oh my god, they're just making shit up. I'd be more impressed with the suit if I could actually see what I'm doing half the time. They need to pull the camera in this game way back from where it is. There's no reason for it to be this close to the suit at all times. I did not need to see its entire ass in like one corner of my fucking screen. G-doors and cameras do not, yeah. Because there's only a handful of suits that they've ever done it with. The G-doors, they did it. I want to say eventually they had to do it with the, was it the Palace Athene? Something really, really big they had to. But they don't do it unless they feel like they had to or they're forced to. Like, the Cubile has that problem because the Cubile is really short. But it has those big dumbass shoulders, so half the time when it's moving, it's like blocking its own vision. And heaven forbid you're in a map like this where you have a bunch of like walls and shit, because it'll just crunch up against the fucking wall. Now you're having to aim past your own body, which doesn't make any fucking sense. And the reticle in this, because of the parallax, is already ass. These guys do not want to actually fight right now. They're all way back here somewhere. No, because he's got that stupid... Fucking White Riders, dude. Wondering why he's hiding back there. My beam bent out of my gun. Hello? I think the one thing that's that's throwing people off right now is that they can't tell if I'm actually holding my melee out the way that I am or not. So they're just kind of looking at me like, is he swinging? Is he charging? I don't know. Yeah, because like the Loto can just constantly be like, it's already a stealthed up suit. I don't have any stealth detection, and then it can just be in my blind spot like all the time. I don't even know if the neutral like covers enough of the front, depending on how close it is. It would probably cover it more off to the side than it would in the immediate front. Are we just not interested in this? I'm ready. Nah, he still had his frames. Ow, that didn't do a lot though. This is, again, an issue. Oh my god, please. And then they just turned around like they're not here. What the hell? Thank you, number 4. Aw, my neutral didn't come out. Shit. Fuck. Thankfully, most of those miss. I guess that's the other thing. The turning on this, you really gotta force it to start moving for certain things. Do not. God damn, dude. Like, what, was he shooting his fucking machine gun at him? Like, what the hell was that? These guys aren't gonna drop unless they absolutely have to. They're gonna turtle up. This is not an advantage for me, though, because I can't see anything. This is too cramped a space for me to fucking fight. Oh my lord, the stupid G7's still just doing shit. Fuck off, dude. Yeah. Uh-oh. The VDC? The internet broken? This match might actually die. Okay, no, there we go. I was gonna say like, ah, shit, come on. Everyone just wanted to fucking slap at me. Didn't even have a support. One of their other dudes left. I guess that was just a single loss at the last second. He was fighting for most of that round. Second place. That ratio is awful though. I don't know. So it's interesting. Obviously the resistance on the melee helps it really tank some stuff. You saw a couple instances there of us getting caught up in a really bad firefight and not getting stunned as easily. As long as they were pounding on the accumulation and all that shit. So it can get in there, but it still has two really slow raw melees that it's gonna have to do at weird angles and just hope it doesn't get countered and knocked over and blah blah. So we'll see. I don't know if this is really gonna replace anything at its cost range. It's an interesting. And that is our round in the Rosette. Honestly, I've seen a couple of these suits because like when we did these, I still had 2 more accounts to do. And it was on accounts where I didn't have the suit itself. And we saw maybe like a handful of them trying to do stuff. Hopefully we'll see more over the week. But right now, I don't really see this suit replacing anything. It's definitely a nice novelty suit. Typical GBO2 like Vanderbait fodder when it comes to that. Like, oh, I can't believe it. You know, this thing finally has like a 3D model. And for that, I'm happy. Do I think it's going to really be something really crazy or game-changing at this cost? No, and if you're not, it's very much to your detriment in a game like this. So there's probably going to be a lot more people that go for the other banners. 500 is going to be interesting because this has to contend with the Red Gundam and a lot of things, like I said, that have a lot of ballistic output still, despite the extra prominence of like beam weaponry at this cost range. So whether or not you try to make this a little bit bulkier so that it can stand up to that stuff, try to get through the abysmal amount of boost that this has so that it can scoot a little bit more. Because it does have a decent amount of movement range. Like you can see how much it's advancing here just by doing regular movement. Not awful. But it's also just a chunky boy. It's a big target, you know? So couple different directions that you can really take some of the adjustments with this, but just keep in mind that because the slottage is so low, you're not going to really be able to do a lot in the other aspects if you focus more on one. And doing mixed builds is probably going to have diminishing returns as well, which is a little bit unfortunate. You would hope that you can make this a little bit more versatile, but we'll just have to see how people really focus on this as a machine going forward. But that is the long and short of it for the Rosette. Definitely a welcome suit. I still want the version of this that has the fucking chicken walker legs. I don't know if we're ever going to get that. But, you know, it's nice to see that they're still putting out some of the funkier AOZ suits on the roster. They do still have a good amount of stuff left in there to really play around with. But that'll be all for today. So until next time, I hope you guys have a good rest of your morning, night, or whatever, and I'll see y'all in the next video.